This is the new Tamron 16 to 30mm f2.8 G2. It is the second edition of this style of lens, and I've spent the last week shooting it around real-world environments here in Tokyo, including a couple shoot, and also just a lot of general travel photography that you would use a wide-angle lens for. I'll also be showing you a lot of video clips as well on how this lens reacts in the real world. The full frame 16 to 30 G2 does a great job of putting a high quality wide angle f2.8 zoom into a compact and affordable package. It officially stacks in with the 28 to 75 and the 70 to 180, which are all generation 2 Tamron lenses with f2.8 apertures. I think Tamron is considering the 17 to 28 as the G1 of this lens, and this lens is the G2. And that 17 to 28 was great. Should you upgrade if you already have that, or the G1? Is the G2 worth it? I'll talk more about that at the end of this video. If you're on Sony, you have some options. There's the Sony 16 to 25, which is very good, but a little bit more expensive and doesn't give you all the way to 30mm. But you can also get the Sigma 16 to 28, which is pretty similar to the Tamron. But on Z Mount, Nikon, like we're using today, they make the decision really easy. Your wide options at f2.8 are the 14 to 24, which is over double the price, and I feel like that lens is in an entirely different category in my opinion. And then your other f2.8 option is the Nikon 17 to 28, which is rumored or mostly confirmed to just be the Tamron 17 to 28 rehoused, which kind of makes that the G1 of this lens, and it's more expensive. So it's very simple for Nikon. I am going for the Tamron 16 to 30 f2.8 if I don't yet own the 17 to 28. When it comes to autofocus and image quality, I am so happy with this 16 to 30. I've been using it in Japan on the Nikon ZF, and you're going to find similar autofocus performance in any of the current generation Nikon cameras. The linear motor is for sure an upgrade here. There is no in-lens stabilization, but we're seeing that a lot less as the IBIS gets better from mirrorless cameras, and the IBIS is just doing a great job across all this footage. 16 to 30 is also weather sealed, good ergonomics, the focus rings are great, zoom is the tightness that I want it to be. You can also connect this over USB to the Tamron Lens app, which allows you more custom controls over the focus ring settings. And if you are going to be using this on a gimbal for video, everything in this video is handheld, but if you are going to be using a gimbal, the weight doesn't shift too much as you zoom on this lens. At 16, there's basically no focus breathing. At 30, there is a little bit, but it is totally acceptable in my opinion. Is this a macro lens? Not really. Tamron kind of makes a really nice wedding ecosystem. So I'm a wedding photographer. If you follow the channel, you've probably seen a behind the scenes video or two. And you know that I use a Tamron 35 to 150 f2 to f2.8 for all of my ceremonies, but also a lot of other parts of the day. And together with this lens, I feel like they've made a very easy to lens wedding kit. I would also like to have maybe an 85mm prime for the reception, but you could absolutely get away by using the Tamron 35 to 150. The reasoning for having an 85mm prime is I just like the size, the weight, and also having a 1.8 aperture at 85mm is kind of nice for getting those podium shots. But those three lenses, I feel like it's a great wedding kit, with the anchor lenses being the two Tamron ones and kind of the bonus lens being that 85. Now, when it comes to the physical, one of the things that I love is that it's all internal zoom. So if you're at 16, it looks like that. If you're at 30, it looks like that. It does not move, which is really, really nice. I feel like that also adds to the weather sealing and the dust resistance. Lenses that extend like that have a tendency to suck some dust inside over time. So if it is a lens you're using a lot, or if you're using it in dustier environments, or out on a beach pretty often, it's nice to have the internal zoom. The lens itself does move in and out a little bit, but it doesn't extend the barrel at all. There is one button on here. So if you like to customize and use the lens buttons, as well as a USB-C port for updating firmware, and it's weather sealed even though it's a USB-C hole in the side of the lens. If this does get wet, it's no problem. Now, all the video clips you've been seeing have been shot with a baked-in profile that I've built. I'm gonna make a second video about that. It's a look that I built that kind of emulates, I would say, a classic neg preset on Fujifilm, and I like it a lot, but the images that you're seeing are all edited through Imagine, and if you are interested in getting my Imagine profile for free, if you do sign up for a subscription, there's a link down below. 1,500 free edits to get started, and all the images in this video are edited by Imagine. In terms of usefulness, so I typically, I would say that the 28mm lens I'm recording this on is usually a go-to travel lens for me. And there are a number of situations, specifically the baseball game we went to, and we had the most perfect seats right behind home plate. It's a lottery system here where you just select that I would like the S section, and it puts you somewhere and you don't really get to pick. Japan camera hunter and I very fortunately got up against the front row somehow. I've never been this fortunate with seats here in Japan for baseball games, but I am so happy that I had this 16, because at 16, you get the whole stadium and it looks amazing. You could have built that with a bunch of images stitched together in a panorama, and that works sometimes. If you do find yourself in a wider environment, you can make that work. But in the instance of this baseball game, the video monitor is going to be changing, players are going to be moving, fans are going to be moving, and to stitch a panorama just isn't as easy as just putting this at 16 and taking the picture. So I was specifically using the Nikon version of this lens, and I think the Nikon version comes out a little bit after, so I think the Sony version ships first, and then the Nikon one is a little bit after that, maybe a month or so. And I am very, very happy that the Nikon ecosystem is allowing us third-party lenses. While Nikon does make incredible glass, Tamron is able to make some more interesting and unique lenses in a very attractive price point. And you might be saying to yourself, third-party lenses, I can only use Nikon lenses, and gone are the days of third-party lenses not being as good as native lenses. They come with some different characteristics. I actually really love the way that the highlights feel on this lens. And overall, the image rendering and the feeling of this lens, I'm really, really happy with. On the front, it is a standard 67mm thread, and that's great because I've been using this new, they're the sponsor of this video, Nisi, the new JetMag Pro filter kit. So out here in Japan, it's important that you get your shutter speed correct because there's so many LED walls and ones that on your monitor you might not even see. You might be out taking your video clips and you don't see that in the background. There's like 5 or 6 little things that are just blinking off and on really fast because your shutter speed's too high. How you keep your shutter speed where you want it to be is with a variable ND or an ND filter. And this JetMag Pro kit is very interesting for a number of reasons. We were also using it with Alex's Canon camera when he was here. But in the kit, you can get a number of different filter rings. So for this 67mm Tamron 16 to 30, now I can just easily magnetically connect my filters from the JetMag Pro kit. Or say if I find myself in a place where I need a 77mm front filter thread for a different lens, I can connect this to that 77mm filter, and all of a sudden my magnetic filters are working with that lens. So no longer do I have to buy a bunch of screw-on filters that are different sizes. This one kit just does it all. And in this filter kit, I have a variety of different filters. So I have a black mist filter. There's also, if you screw it on and put it over top of the line here, it will actually lock on so you can't bump it off, which is really nice. That also goes for when you're stacking filters. So that is a 4-stop ND. And if I tilt it over here, all of a sudden these are all locked on, and even though they're magnetic, they're not gonna fall off. If I do want them off, I just rotate them anywhere else and they come off very easily. There are also front and back caps that are also magnetic. You leave the adapter on here so you can quickly put those filters back on. But now if you put this in your bag, they are protected. Now the last filter I haven't talked about is a variable ND filter. So it just clips right on like that. You twist it in to lock it. And now you have a 1 to 5 stop ND filter that you can also stack with that black mist filter if you want. And as you'd expect, the image transfer through the filters and into your lens. Really, really nice. I'll put links down below if you want to get your own JetMag Pro kit. And now in the future, you just buy new magnetic JetMag Pro filters, and they just connect to all your lenses, so you don't gotta buy lots and lots of filters and have them all in a drawer in your house like I do. One kit to rule them all. Maybe that's copyrighted. Back to sample footage. At f2.8, you're going to get some shallow depth of field if you do get close. The background bokeh isn't going to be what you would expect, obviously, from something like a 70 to 180, but it is good enough for a wide-angle lens. When it comes to the coatings, the Tamron did a really great job handling any light that came at it in this trip. I should also mention that we were experiencing some 40 degrees Celsius, near 100% humidity, which is like 100 degrees Fahrenheit most of the days, so it's hot. And some of the softness you're going to see is either actually physically in the air, or it might be moisture hitting the lens as I'm going from air conditioning to outside temporarily. There is no ghosting or anything spooky happening with this lens, regardless. When it comes to sharpness, I shot pretty much everything at f2.8 this entire trip. At 16mm, this lens is really remarkable. The sharpness, the lack of vignette, it really surprised me. At 30mm, you get a little bit of a subtle mist filter effect, as you can see by the headlights here. If you want that to disappear, just stop down to f5.6. Again, this is just at 30mm, I noticed it the most, and f5.6 cleans this up quite a bit. Honestly, as a wedding photographer, I'm not upset about shooting this lens at f2.8 at 30mm because I like that effect a lot. But this lens is for sure its strongest at its widest. Should you upgrade if you're on the 17 to 28 right now and you're looking at this being like, is this a true G2? In my personal opinion, if I already had that lens, I'd be happy to stick with it. If I didn't yet have that lens and I'm looking at the two side by side, I am going to go with the 16 to 30, both for the cost savings, as well as the fact that I just like that it's an internal zoom or internal-ish zoom. Another decision maker for me would be, as a wedding photographer, I need the faster autofocus. If you're a landscape photographer, you're on the 17-28, maybe that's not a requirement for you. As myself, somebody photographing people in a somewhat fast moving environment a lot of the time, the linear motor upgrade is going to make a big difference to me. There it is, the Tamron 16-30 f2.8 for Nikon Z. It's the one that you saw throughout this video, but it also comes for Sony E and hopefully some other mounts in the future. We'll find out together. Thanks again to Tamron for shipping this lens to me just in arriving at my hotel door, which is crazy. So shout out to Tamron for that. And hopefully you've enjoyed the test photos and images. I am really happy to recommend this lens if you are looking for that wide angle f2.8. And don't forget, if you do want to get in on the JetMag Pro kit Nisi filter system, there's a link down below. Does everything you need for what we're doing here in Japan. VND, ND, black mist, everything magnetic, easy to change in this hot, hot heat. Links down below. We'll see you again next time.